Take it to the streets to find the police. No justice, no peace. Take it to the streets to find the police.
Hello, my name is Stanley Heller. Welcome to The Struggle. We start with some incredible footage from Daraa, Syria. This is where the revolution started in 2011, and it's where local forces came to an agreement with Assad's people in 2018, essentially giving in to the dictatorship. We've shown recent protests of civilians in Daraa and nearby Sweda. But this is something else. It's former rebels now in Assad's army demonstrating against him. And this from another corner of Syria, Al-Rukban, a sandstorm amid 117-degree heat. Al-Rukban is near a U.S. base, and the U.S. won't let Assad conquer it, but they do not send the 12,000 men, women, and children there any food, any water, or any supplies.
I'm Amy Goodman. In Lebanon, a massive explosion at the port of Beirut sent a devastating shockwave through the Lebanese capital Thursday evening, leveling buildings, overturning cars, and shattering windows miles from the blast site. More than 100 people have been reported dead, with hundreds still missing. Over 4,000 people have been injured. The explosion carried the force of a 3.5 magnitude earthquake and was felt as far away as Cyprus, more than 100 miles off Lebanon's coast. Videos of the explosion show a rapidly expanding shockwave engulfing entire high-rise buildings, leaving behind a pink mushroom cloud rising far above Beirut's skyline. One business owner, Ahmad Ismail, describes the moment the blast reached his Beirut shop.
We were both standing at the entrance. We felt the glass shaking. I said to him maybe it was an earthquake, and he went to ask the neighbors what's going on. Then I felt something like lightning strike across Beirut, and everything turned red, and the force of the explosion threw me off from the beginning of the shop.
Lebanon's prime minister called the explosion a national catastrophe. He said it was triggered by 2,700 tons of highly explosive ammonium nitrate, inexplicably left unattended in a warehouse for 6 years. The explosion completely destroyed the port of Beirut, a main economic lifeline of Lebanon.
In Israel, the daily demonstrations calling for Netanyahu's removal continue and grow. Some even take place among Israelis living in the United States. This photo is of Netanyahu's son Yair An Israeli court ordered him to stop harassing protest leaders. He has posted the names and addresses of protest leaders, after which they receive death threats. Middle East Eye had this piece about Seth Rogen after the actor-comedian made a public comment that Jews are being lied to about Israel.
I also think that as a Jewish person, like, I was fed a huge amount of lies about Israel my entire life. You know, they never tell you that. Oh, by the way, there were people there. They make it seem like it was just like man sitting there. It was like the fucking doors open.
Hours for the taking.
I'm afraid of Jews. I'm 100% afraid of Jews.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
All they want to know is that, do you believe we can kill them? Do you think they deserve a country, or can we kill them?
For truly the preservation of Jewish people, it makes no sense, because again, you don't keep something you're trying to preserve all in one place, especially when that place has proven to be
volatile,
pretty volatile, you know.
A warning to our audience, the following headline contains graphic video. This from Colorado. Police in Aurora detained a black family at gunpoint Sunday after mistaking their vehicle for one that was stolen. Video has gone viral showing police ordering a woman and 4 girls to lie face down at gunpoint in a parking lot. The girls ranged in age from 6 to 17. 2 of the girls were handcuffed. In the shocking video, the girls can be heard crying and screaming. Brittany Gilliam said she was taking her daughter, sister, and nieces to get their nails done when Aurora police drew guns on their parked vehicle. The Aurora Police Department has apologized and opened an internal investigation. Last year in Aurora, Colorado, Elijah McClain, a 23-year-old African-American massage therapist, died after being tackled by police and placed in a chokehold, then injected with ketamine by paramedics. At the time, he was walking home from picking up an iced tea for his brother at the local convenience store.
Now to a protest of police violence organized by Black Lives Matter New Haven and the citywide youth coalition.
This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Breonna Taylor. Justice for Breonna Taylor. Justice for Breonna Taylor. Take it to the streets to fund the police. No justice, no peace. Take it to the streets to fund the police. No justice, no peace. Take it to the streets to fund the police. No justice, no peace. Take it to the streets to fund the police. No justice, no peace. Take it to the streets. Justice, no peace. Really coming no peace. Take it to the streets to fund the police. No justice, no peace. Take it to the streets to fund the police. No justice, no peace. Take it to the streets to fund the police. No justice, no peace. Take it to the streets to fund the police. No
captain's gonna read.
See the whole coverage we did of that event in our YouTube section on thestruggle.org. And below it, see our comment that links to an article in the New Haven Independent that lists their full demands. An event in New Haven celebrated the new police accountability bill, and some of the people who made it happen, like Senator Gary Winfield, Representative Robyn Porter, and longtime activist Barbara Fair. At one point in her remarks, Representative Porter talked about the importance of filling out and returning the U.S. Census.
Let's keep this momentum going. Let's keep this fight and this fire in our belly stoked and burning. We cannot do as we usually do, right? Because you know what we do? We go back to sleep, we take a nap. We must stay woke. And we must keep our hands on the plow, and we must fight like we have never fought before. We have the victory. We just have to believe it in order to receive it. So let's talk about the census and the importance of that, and how important it is that we make sure we get counted in this round. New Haven is currently at 50%. Nationally, we're at 63%. And statewide, we're at 66%. We have work to do, my good people. And I'm talking to the folks that look like me, the black and brown people in this state, in this city specifically, that need to make sure that you get counted, your children get counted, especially the children under 5. Because these federal dollars are linked to the very things that have a chokehold on us. Education, Medicaid expansion. Imagine if we had had Medicaid expansion pre-COVID. What a difference that would have made. This is why you have to come out and make sure that you are counted in the census, because we will lose, and we stand to lose congressional seats and state reps and state senator seats. And if you like what Senator Winfield and I are up at that State House doing, I implore you to make sure that you get counted in this census, because if you don't, you put us at risk. We stand the risk of losing a seat. Understand what it means. Because if it wasn't important, the president would not be pushing back the count to September 30th, right? He's rolling it back because he understands that if he cuts it short and COVID on top of that, they're gonna come out winning. That ain't so. We've always worked under pressure. We've always worked under the gun. Let's do what we do. We show up and we show out. Let's continue that momentum, and let's speak to everyone we have an opportunity to talk to, whether we know them or not, and spread the good news. Because the good news is, my people, we have power, and it's time to harness and use it. We're not giving it back no more.
That's right.
We're gonna get it done.
That's right.
We're gonna get it done. So I just want to say thank you, and I want to acknowledge, a very special acknowledgement to what I call the matriarch of justice, the mother of justice, Barbara Fair. And I just want to take this moment to let her and the whole, whoever's watching, the whole world know that she has been the driving force for being a good senator in many instances where it was so dark we couldn't see the light.
So on behalf of all of us, this is just a little bit for you.
Thank you so much.
All right. All right. Part of that 4 a.m. crew.
Thank you so much.
A reporter asked Barbara Fair about some of the details of the new law.
But I can tell you some of the things offhand. First of all, police can no longer abuse and kill without any kind of consequence. Other officers cannot stand around and watch an officer abuse that's inside the prison and on the street. They can no longer watch it and not say anything, because they will be held and be prosecuted for the same thing.
That's right.
We're asking for professionalism. If you say police is a profession, well, we want some professional officers.
That's right.
We also want accredited departments. In Connecticut, none of the police departments in the urban centers are accredited. That's the highest standards of policing. We'd like to see that, since they claim they're professional. And with a profession comes accountability, and like in every other profession, policing should have the same kind of thing. You're accountable to the people. You should have insurance. As a licensed social worker, I have to have insurance to do my job in case I mess up. Doctors have to have insurance. Lawyers have to have insurance. If they want to say they're a professional, they need to have insurance also.
And you think this will bring real change?
I believe it will. Like I said, it's the foot in the door that we haven't been able to get before. And with that foot in the door, I don't know about anybody else, but once the foot's in the door, I can kick it in the rest of the way. And that's what I plan on doing. I plan on making sure that people no longer have to be afraid when they see police. Police need to know you're here to protect and serve. You're not here to occupy our communities. You should treat us like you treat the people in the suburbs where you hardly ever see a police. These are the things that have to happen. And in corrections, people are there to serve a sentence. They're not there to be abused, degraded, humiliated at the lowest standards. You can't destroy our people and throw them back on the street. You can't do it anymore. That's right. Not if I and many of us around here have anything else to do with it. That has ended.
Going back to the demonstration of elders some weeks ago, a woman spoke about the death of her son in prison. She's introduced by Barbara Fair.
And next we're going to call up Ms. Colleen Lord. One example of why correctional accountability and oversight is so desperately needed.
Good morning, I'm Colleen Lord. This is my grief support puppy, Ruby. And this is my son, Robbie, who was killed 15 months ago, less than a mile from where I'm standing right now. If you don't know the story, thank you, dear. If you don't know the story of what happened to my son, he had a serious mental illness since he was very young. And after a few misdemeanors, the judge was wanting to drop the charges if he could be in a hospital for 3 months. And you cannot get in a hospital for 3 months, or almost any amount of time, unless you have a whole lot of money. We tried everything, but eventually my son had to serve a couple of months in jail at New Haven Correctional Center. The only thing that he was in there for at the time that he was killed was for pulling the fire alarm in a local emergency room here in frustration when he was refused help for the 40th time in less than 2 years of trying. So the way I see it, the broken mental health system and systemic racism and the lack of accountability are 3 prongs that all are joined and overlap together that create the dehumanization of our loved ones, that create mass incarceration, that create a warrior mentality in the police, and that ultimately come together to bring about brutality. And there's not a lot of truth going on about what happens in the DOC. So my friend Barbara asked me to share some things that I've learned. My son was having a schizophrenic episode, partly and due to him being denied his medication. And he was laying down in the shower, calm, but he was in there too long, and he needed to come out per the lieutenant and the corrections officers. They sprayed an incredible amount of pepper spray directly into his face and mouth and skin. I've spoken to the creators and the makers of the pepper spray that they use, Saber Red, and I've asked, are there any safe levels? And they showed me studies where 1 second of spray is mostly tolerated after a half an hour. But the first spray was for 3 full seconds directly into his face, followed by a kick stomp into his face by an officer, followed immediately by another second-and-a-half spray. The excruciating pain, this isn't like your regular mace, but the excruciating pain, it's created to go deep into your skin and burn you from the inside out, and it swells your mucous membranes. And it causes excruciating pain. And I know this because after 15 months, I was finally permitted to view the video. And I've seen the videotape of my son being killed. And I had no idea at the time, but I heard his last words because the situation had escalated and they ended up spraying him 4 times in 10 minutes and putting him into solitary confinement when he was supposed to be waiting for a mental health review. But his last words were unbelievably, "I can't breathe," as several very heavy officers held him down and restrained him into 5-point restraints because he was pretty fidgety, having been burned, and they just wanted him to stop moving. And well, they accomplished that. The abuses that I've seen with my own eyes in that videotape, and I would like the Judiciary Committee to also review it, as well as the Governor's Task Force on Police Accountability. I would like them to see with their own eyes what happened to my son. In the hopes that good people can finally make things better in the world. Officer that was charged with criminal assault on my son. He was arrested 3 months ago, and his arraignment has been pushed out 5 times, understandably due to COVID, but we are still waiting for justice for my son. And by the way, assault is not near enough justice. But if that's all that we can get in advance of the new laws being passed, then justice to me would be for this to never happen again, for people to learn and to start treating each other. These are our loved ones. These are our family members. This really could happen to anybody. But we need to treat them with compassion and understanding and not judge them. People say they're criminals. Why should we fight for them? Well, this goes back to the systemic racism and the poverty and what has the social issues that have created the problems. And it goes back to the broken mental health system where the people are not getting treated and they're ending up in jail instead or homeless. And it goes back to there being no accountability for the officers who commit crimes. They are the offenders. I'll never call my son an offender in the DOC. He was an incarcerated person, and I'm sorry to say, but I've been convinced that many of the staff there are the real offenders. Thank you.
As you know, we oppose the building of another fracked gas power plant in Killingly, Connecticut, and all the global warming gases that factory would produce. Here, a speaker at the virtual rally a month ago, someone local to that area, Kate Donnelly.
Kate Donnelly, who's the leader of No More Dirty Power in Killingly, and she also is a chair of the Hampton Green Energy Committee and is currently running for state rep in the 47th district. Kate, you have the floor.
Hi. We're at a crossroads in our state and our country right now. A crossroads in terms of making changes needed to address systemic racism and on the crossroads in stopping the climate crisis. Make no mistake about it, the climate crisis is here and people are already suffering badly from the ongoing effects of it. The practice of sacrificing people and places is what makes destroying our planet possible. White supremacy allows us to view black and brown people as less than human. According to author Hop Hopkins, you can't have climate change without sacrifice zones. And you can't have sacrifice zones without disposable people. And you can't have disposable people without racism. We are at the crossroads, and each of us must do our part to stop racism and the climate crisis. Working together, we can make this happen. Stopping the Killingly frack gas plant is just part of the solution. Here's why. Number one, it will increase Connecticut's greenhouse gas emissions by 5%. We cannot simultaneously work toward the reduction in greenhouse gas and build this power plant. Our state's climate goals are impressive, but will be impossible to meet if this Killingly plant is built. Number two, the already high asthma rate in Windham County, the poorest county in the state, that Leah just talked about some of the statistics coming out of Killingly, it will, oh, sorry there. It will increase along with many other pollution-related diseases, our asthma rate. For decades, low-income population and communities of color have lived with more severe pollution. Children and the elderly are most likely to be harmed, and as was stated before, this plant will be located near four schools. Number three, Connecticut and New England power grid just don't need the energy this plant will produce. The offshore wind project and solar farms, combined with energy storage, can provide the energy we need for the future without harming our planet. Reducing our consumption through energy efficiency will further reduce our need to create more energy. Investing in the green economy will improve our air and provide good-paying jobs. If we're going to stop the climate crisis, we must stop the Killingly power plant. Please act today to keep the pressure on Governor Lamont. We must hold him accountable to his campaign promise to reach 100% renewable energy. We need action from him just as dramatic as those taken for the coronavirus pandemic. We must keep the pressure on DEEP Commissioner Katie Dykes. DEEP has the power to stop the plant by not issuing a permit for pipeline expansion. I encourage you all to log on to the Sierra Club Connecticut website to sign a petition to DEEP. Please act today, act tomorrow, and as long as it takes to save our planet and all of our people. Thank you, and thank you all for making this such an exciting day.
While the virtual rally was going on, viewers may remember that we had a car caravan circling the DEEP building in Hartford. Then we went on to the governor's mansion, where this sign was placed for a while on the gates. We wonder how Connecticut's governor would like history to remember him. As a man who reined in police abuses, or a man who allowed the carbon criminals to build their gas plants as they sent us down the road to climate catastrophe. Before I go, set aside August 29th. It's a Saturday. That morning, there's going to be a demonstration of a special sort in Hartford, one that involves empty shoes. Check back with us next week for details. That's our program for today. Stay safe, folks, but stay active. I'm Stanley Heller for The Struggle.